All right, everybody, welcome back to the Friday Night Prepper Pre-Party Show. It is good to have you back. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and giving us a little piece of your Friday. We got a fun show planned for you tonight, and I'm going to be very excited to interview my guest, who I'll interview here. I will introduce here in just a second. First, I want to say hi to everybody that popped into chat early, and we'll go over a couple ground rules for those who are brand new to this channel. If you've never been on my channel before, I always release videos twice a week, usually a product review or a skill on Tuesday nights. And then usually I am live on Friday nights talking about a topic of current interest, or sometimes we have a guest like we do tonight. We always ask that you please be kind to the mods who give their time freely. My mods are not paid. They give their time voluntarily to help out. So please be kind to them. They have full permission to put anybody in timeout or boot them out if you are racist or sexist. That being said, most other chat is allowed, especially if you want to give any criticism or disagreement to me. I'd actually welcome a little bit of debate. Just be kind with your comments to the mods. That's all we ask, and kind to my guest as well. A couple little quick things to go through. We are approaching 5,000 subscribers here, so we would definitely love to have you subscribe if you're brand new to the channel. I'm going to be doing a giveaway once we hit 5,000. And the way my giveaways work is you will not know exactly when it's going to be. It'll be sometime after we pass that 5,000 mark. And in the past, I've given away some really cool prizes, including silver rounds and silver coins and things like that. So you really don't want to miss it, but you won't know exactly what it is. So when it's going to happen. So you want to stay subscribed with that bell notification on. And last little bit, I think, well, two more things. November updates. So I am probably going to have a video for you on Tuesday night. Next Friday, I just want to remind everybody that next Friday I will not be live because I will be at Georgia Bushcraft, and I will try to get some footage for you while I'm there. I'm definitely excited about that. We're going to maybe talk about that a little bit tonight, but if I can record a video this weekend, and that's a big if because I got a lot of packing and gear checking to do. But if I can record a video, you'll have that on Friday. If not, I will at least release some shorts over the next 10 days or so. So I have a whole pile of short videos that I've been sitting on. So those are probably you'll probably get those in the next 10 days or so. And if I can get anything else recorded for you, I will. And I think I had one more thing, which was Keith Kronk, if you're watching this, Celine Ferocious, if you're watching this, and Bacon, if you're watching this, shoot me an email at businesswithsarge@gmail.com. I have a little something for you all for helping out with moderating. I always appreciate you when you've been able to help out. I've reached out and I've been in touch with all the other mods who have been here regularly. So just those last three, I would like to touch base with. If you can, just shoot me that email at businesswithsarge@gmail.com. And let's say hi to the chat, and then I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest for tonight. Thank you, Lee, one of our mods here. Cold War Prepper, appreciate you. Stewart's Prepping's good to see you. Sassy Gal Prepping, another one of our mods. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I saw Virginia Bushcrafter. If you haven't seen Virginia Bushcrafter's video about the axe that he reviewed, check that out. You all ought to be subscribed to Virginia Bushcrafter, actually. This guy puts his work in. He's out there in the bush all the time, showing you the hard work, building shelters, showing you how to make primitive fires. This guy actually really needs a lot more subscribers. He deserves a lot more subscribers than he currently has. So please check out his channel. And who else did I miss? Lazarus Longs, good to see you. Appreciate you. Ontario Prepper, thank you so much for joining us. Local Preppers, good to see you. Hope you're doing well tonight. Thank you for sharing your Friday with us. Visar, good to see you. And I think I got everybody. Oh, Wayne the Ungrateful Peasant, one of our other mods. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you all. All right, so let's go ahead and introduce the guest for tonight. Dave, welcome to the channel. Dave is the host of Strongman Survival. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for inviting me on.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you. We have a pretty fun topic to talk about tonight. So before we start that, though, where can people find you? You're on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube right here at Strongman Survival.
And we're going to scroll that on the bottom on the banner. You can check out his channel. And you're also on Instagram. Any other platforms where people can find you?
No, just here and over on Insta.
Awesome. Well, before we get into the little challenge that you did and your aspirations for all of this, What got you started into like survival skills and survival training?
Uh, I guess that started when I was a kid. My dad would take me out. He taught me how to hunt and then fish and doing all that stuff, getting out in the woods and all. So it was a thing that started when I was a child, and I just kind of carried it along with me. And yeah, it was just one of those things I just kept on doing, and all. It was always a passion of mine. You know,
Hmm. Did you
so
do Boy Scouts too?
no, no, I did
No.
not.
Okay. And
No,
so
mine
so you're
was
sorry, I didn't
all
mean
of
to cut
mine
you
was just yeah, all of mine was just my dad teaching me, and then me and my friends growing up, kind of just being a little wild man out in the woods, being being kids and stuff.
off. Yeah. So were you kind of lucky enough to grow up in a rural setting where you had access to run in the woods and that kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm originally from Virginia, so
Awesome. Good stuff. Yeah, that was pretty much my childhood as well. My dad was an 82nd Airborne, and a lot of the survival skills and my interest in that part of it, a part of what prepping and survival and that kind of thing, came from him. He did some cold weather survival training with the 82nd Airborne, and then taught me some of that stuff. And then the homesteading piece of it really kind of picked up more from my mom. Did the Boy Scouts growing up, and was lucky enough to grow up in one of those areas where we're surrounded by woods, and went out there building our forts and bridges across the little creeks and all kinds of cool stuff like that. So sounds like we had similar childhood in some ways.
right, yeah.
Mhm. So what's your big goal with this? What are you trying to do?
Well, I'm hopefully I'll land myself a spot on an upcoming season of Alone. Hopefully.
That would be outstanding. How does that process work? Like, do you have to submit tapes, or what do you know about it?
Um, well, I looked up how to get in contact with them if I wanted to try to be a contestant on the show, and I emailed the production company involved, and they responded back with their follow up, their reply, and it was a whole list of basically a resume to kind of just fill out and all, and it was a long list of questions. It was a lot of stuff to try to go back and forth of like, well, what was this question? Now here's the answer, and yeah. So and then yeah, they want access to like your social medias, whatever you have. If you have a YouTube, they need to see that and everything, just so they can see if you know what you're doing and all.
Mhm. So it's pretty
So
intense. They do quite a bit of vetting, it sounds like.
yeah, yeah. They ask you about like your skill level, if you've done any like courses, or if you what all you've done, your whole background with it and everything. Um, how long have you gone out in the wilderness by yourself? All that.
Awesome. Really cool. Yeah, and one of the so I'm going to be heading out to Georgia Bushcraft next weekend, and one of the contestants from seasons 2 and 5, I think, Carly Fairchild is one of the instructors there. She was there last year, and I was supposed to be in a class with her. And on the last day, I picked up a little bit of a stomach bug, so I didn't go to the class. I didn't get to really meet her. I saw her there, but I didn't get to meet her. I registered for two of her classes this time. One of them is making cordage, basically from vines and grasses and things like that. So definitely looking forward to meeting her. And of all the shows that are out there, like Dual Survivor, Bear Grylls, uh, Creek, all of those type of shows, in my opinion, the Alone is the most legit. It is like they literally are. They send you out into the middle of nowhere, right? And you get to bring, what is it, 10 items?
Um, yeah, well, they give you a whole list of what you need to actually bring and all for the weather and changing of the weather and all that stuff. Basically, go from like you know early fall to you know deep harsh winters.
Hmm.
So there's a of things you have to have item wise, and then they give you a separate list, and you're only allowed to choose 10 items off of that.
Okay.
And that ranges between uh, cookware, uh, what kind of knife you want to bring, if you want an axe or a saw or anything like that. Choice between slingshot and a bow and fishing kits, and yeah, it's a whole list. It's one of those things that you really like look at, and it's like, and you're pondering, and you know, like exactly like what would you bring? What would you do? I want this or I want that. It's a whole it's a thing.
Awesome. Well, we'll get to the gear in a second here. It's pretty hard when you start thinking about. You ask this of anybody, and it's a fun challenge for anybody in the community who wants to think about, just like a little mental game for yourself. If you could go out, if you're going out into the bush for you don't know how long, and you could only
Mhm.
bring 10 items, what would those 10 items be, right? We'll
Right.
get to your list here in a second. And Forager Chick, I saw you popping in. Thank you so much. I'm excited that you are going to be in the cordage class with me. So Forager Chick also is one of the instructors there at Georgia Bushcraft, and she's the one who actually taught me how to inoculate a mushroom log. So she's a really cool person too. Make sure you all checking out her channel as well. Um, so what's the next step in that process if to get like an audition or to be narrowed down into the next pool of people? How does that work? They just kind of keep an eye on you for a while?
Yeah, yes. Last that I had heard was that, casting was closed for right
Okay.
now, which, it's around that time. It's around that time now that the people who get selected for the show are, where their, you know, temporary home is, wherever they decide to drop them. So
Mhm.
now's the time here and stuff. So I just have to wait for, next year whenever they start really looking again. And then
Do you-
from there, I'm not sure the next step. I don't know if I have to go someplace and, demonstrate any skills or whatnot. But so
okay.
that's to be known.
Do you know if once they narrow it down to what is it, 12 people that go? When they per season, is it 12 or 20?
I think it's 10.
10. So when those 10
Yeah.
people are chosen, do they know where they're going?
I think they know the region, but
Okay.
they do not know their actual like drop off.
Okay. So you can at least study a little bit, like on terms of like what plants to expect there and that kind of stuff once you know where you're going.
Right, right. So you kind of would know that whole landscape and stuff, so you can get familiar with what could be there, what you could start looking for to keep an eye out for,
Okay.
foraging wise, animal wise, etc. All that stuff.
Well, I hope you get chosen and I hope that you get picked for a mild climate, but I know that's not how that usually works there. They usually pick kind of a cold environment.
Yeah, and no, they really don't. I thank you. I really hope I do get chosen for this.
Yeah. All right. So you went recently, you did a little retreat for yourself, right? Where you kind of just did a test of your skills and your gear.
Yeah, yeah. I had gone out for just a 3-day retreat.
Mhm.
Not super long, but I got that. I'm a blue collar guy. I got the job to do and stuff still, so can't
Yeah.
be gone for weeks at a time. But yeah, I got out for a 3-day, um, limited gear. I had a list of rules that I came up with to kind of follow for myself. It was something. It was a good experience.
What were and for those of you watching, you can see some of this footage over on his channel. He's uploaded, I think some of it. Do you still have more that's coming?
No, no, I had put
Okay.
everything up there. I was kind of meaning to do a kind of follow up video of you know my personal opinion on it,
Hmm.
things that I would feel that I could have done differently, maybe that
Hmm.
that kind of that kind of a video. But
Okay.
I haven't done it yet. But
Okay. What were some of the rules that you put on yourself when you were preparing for this?
I dropped myself down to a limited amount of items or gear that I could bring, kind of like along the lines of the alone rules and their list of stuff. So that's all I was allowed to bring and use. And uh, basically everything had to come from where I was. My drinking water from the river nearby, um, food from whatever I could forage and find or catch, and everything. No, I did bring some emergency food for just in case if I was too hungry, but it wasn't too bad.
Mhm. What was the hardest part of it that you found that while you were out there? Was it hunger? Was it the part about being alone? Was it making shelter? What was the hardest part, do you think?
Um, it wasn't really the alone part. Um, I did enjoy that. I'm not trying to sound bad or anything, but
No,
I
it's okay.
did enjoy being able just to sit there and listen to the breeze as it came through the trees. If there was any birds or any whatnot nearby. The area I had gone to, there was rumors of monkeys being, across the river and down a ways. So
Dang.
I was listen out for that. If I heard any monkeys or whatnot, that would be kind of cool. So the alone part wasn't bad. I mean, I wasn't there super long either for that to start to affect you. Uh, um, I guess to say the hunger was the problem
Hmm.
because I'm still I've kind of taken a break from competing in strongman,
Hmm.
and but I'm still dealing with the strongman hunger. So I'm getting it's kind of bad if I've gone from like 5,000 plus calories and I'm trying to get down to about you know 3.
Yeah.
So that was I guess that was the problem. I was a
Yeah.
lot hungrier faster.
So yeah, we should probably jump in there since you mentioned that part of it. You also do competitive weightlifting, right?
Yeah, I started to compete in strongman about 3 years ago.
Mhm. And what role do you think that takes in terms of survival skills and training and that kinds of thing? Where does that fall into it? Do you think, having done this 3-day event with just minimal gear?
Um, you're saying about my 3 day? What does that play in it?
Yeah. So the strongman training and weightlifting and that kind of stuff, how does that help or hinder the experience of trying to do, like a survival retreat, do you think?
Um, I don't really think it hinders it much, really. Um, I don't think any like physical fitness hinders. I actually encourage physical fitness. You know, more cardio you do,
Hmm.
you know, lifting weights and stuff. And even if you want to compete in something like powerlifting or Olympic powerlifting, or even get into strongman, um,
Hmm.
I think it all helps with being able to carry yourself, carry your pack if you needed to, carry any extra gear if you decide to. Uh, if something was to happen out there, if you're out with a friend and suddenly you got to kind of try to carry your friend into out of
Hmm.
there or whatnot. Yeah, I mean, so I think any physical fitness is very beneficial for just camping, hiking, backpacking,
Yeah.
survival, the whole nine.
And I think that's one of the aspects that in the community I think gets overlooked a lot, is just general fitness, right? So when there's this fantasy in the prepper community of, when SHTF happens, I'm going to put on my bug out bag and I'm going to go and live out in the Appalachians or whatever. And number one, if you've never stayed more than a few days out in remote area where there's no refrigerator, there's no, you might have to purify your water depending on where you're getting it from. And um, building a fire, staying warm in the wintertime, building a shelter to protect you from the elements, like all of that is very intense on the body. Very intense on the body. And a couple of us have done, like mini tests and things like that. I did a 5 mile ruck, and I brought, for myself, I brought quite a bit of gear, but like people don't realize that if you ruck with your backpack, if you've got 50 pounds in there, and most preppers have more than 50 pounds in their pack, it's going to weigh down on you pretty quick, and you're going to feel it, especially when you're not walking on flat terrain. You start feeling it really fast. Titan Preparedness and Palmetto Prepared did a 20-mile one. I think Palmetto did his simulated on a track, and Titan did it up and down a mountain. And both said, this is, you may think that this is easy. It is not easy, right? So then you start throwing in gathering firewood and preparing firewood and making a shelter, and it'll take a lot out of a person real quick. So I agree with you, man. Fitness is way more important than the average prepper wants to admit.
Right. Exactly.
And especially if you're more into the survivalist part of it, right? Like if your plan is to stay home and eat your canned Spam, as long as you don't encounter any trouble, you might be okay. But if your plan is to hit the road and you're going to bug out somewhere, you're going to have to be in some pretty decent shape to pull that off.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want to be like deciding to just leave the house, and your ankles, your knees, your hips, all that stuff is not used to being, put through all, the paces with having to head off on foot. And it's definitely not used to the weight of your pack, even if it's just a 20-pound pack.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Let's check in with chat here for a second here before we go on. I saw there's quite a bit going on. If you all have questions, try to throw them in caps for me so that I can catch them and read them here for Dave. Let's see. Looks like people are putting up your link. Yeah, Bacon, thank you for joining us. Check your email, Bacon. I sent you something. If you could respond back, I've got a little something for you. Forger Chick, thank you so much for joining. Let's see. Did I miss anybody? Trying to scroll real fast, y'all. Who's your prepping nurse? Thank you for joining. Appreciate you. Kentucky, it's good to see you. I'm sorry about the notifications thing. I definitely seem to be on YouTube's naughty list for some reason right now. Actually, not for some reason. I know what it is. It's my last couple of videos where I was talking about stuff that's going on elsewhere in the world. Seems to has put me in the naughty list. Yep, you're right, Bacon. It's not going to be easy to try to do something. And Virginia Bushcrafter too. Yeah. So if you guys watch Virginia Bushcrafter's videos, he shows you exactly the kind of gear he brings out there too. And it's not easy. Even just like I just said, 5 miles, like I was feeling it, and that wasn't up, like up a mountain. That was relatively flat. There was slope and whatnot, but it was, you get out there and the sun's beating down you, the bugs are eating you, and all that's not any fun. Steve from Corsair Trainers, thank you. Maccabees, good to see you too. Appreciate everybody. All right, just making sure I didn't miss any questions here. Process. Oh yeah, yeah, and that's true too. Who's your prepping nurse? Is that even if your plan is to stay home, you may need your the amount of work, that physical labor that we're all going to be putting in a situation where it's an SHTF is going to be increased quite a bit. Like even just after a hurricane, I've talked about, the amount of cleanup that's involved with after a hurricane really takes a lot out of us. Yeah, that's a good point too, right? Like you don't want becoming dangerous, says Wayne says you don't want to be so spent that just like getting to your camp is, that you're done, because you might encounter some problems, and you're building the shelter I think is probably the most calorie intense thing, but also getting a fire going can be too if you have to gather all that firewood, and you don't have to do a ton of, I don't believe in doing a ton of preparing for my fires. I get a little bit to get the small stuff, the kindling and the tinder going. But after that, I just I'll throw a giant log on there and let it melt itself and fold it in and that kind of thing. But what about starting fires? How did that go for you? Did you run into any trouble with that?
No, no, not really. Um, that was one of my rules for following out there, that I would only make fires from using my ferro rod, and I would not bring like any kind of accelerant. I would not bring fat wood of my own or anything like that. That it was just ferro rod, and I would have to collect everything. And if I wanted fat wood, all that stuff.
Yep.
So, but I didn't really have any issues. I was able to find what I needed. I didn't find fat wood, but I was able to find some decent, you know, pine sap nuggets. That that worked out pretty good for me.
Yep. And I watched that video, and I was it was relatable because whenever I'm looking for fat wood, I have a hard time finding it. And when I'm not looking for it, it's everywhere, you know. And I think some things in bushcrafting and survival is like that, you know. Um, what about what did you did like a lean-to type shelter?
Um, I had planned on doing a lean-to, but I
Okay.
did not. I should have done a lean-to because then I could have got it closer to the fire pit that I was still required to use for the area. They still set up a ring and all in that area
Okay.
for me to have to use. So, yeah, I should have went with the lean-to, but I did not. I ended up doing like a center pole. I had a tarp with me, so I
Okay.
brought for a shelter. Um, and that was because they're on the show alone they're allowed to bring, I think, one tarp. Sometimes they're
Mhm.
given two and all. So that was your initial just shelter. So
Right.
I went with that and made kind of like a little ground tent with a center post.
Okay.
That worked out. That was
Was
able to
it
keep my body.
was it hard to sleep?
Um, Kind of, sort of. That ground over there was not too soft, and occasionally I would turn and roll over, and there'd be a decent root right there to get me right in the thigh.
Yeah. And when I've done it, it's like you can hear every little twig, every rustle of leaf around you, you know, which is just the forest critters and whatnot, raccoons and things like that. But that stuff, when you're by yourself, that stuff will wake you up, and you're kind of like, huh, I wonder what that is, you know, that kind of stuff. It's I
Right.
actually I recommend everybody do this at least once in your life. It really is a great experience, and you will learn a lot about yourself, and you'll gain so much confidence in yourself by doing it too. It's really it is an amazing thing to just go out there by yourself for a weekend. Don't talk to anybody. I mean, you know, tell your family where you are so they can find you if there's a problem. Um, but other than that, you know, keep the electronics off if you can, and you know, maybe you keep your phone on so you're traceable. But other than that, try not to be, you know, connecting if you can help it, and just enjoy it. You know, it is a challenge. You'll be tired. You're going to be hungry, but you'll also like really learn so much about yourself. It's a great spiritual experience. I found for me.
Oh yeah, I agree with that one.
I had a question here that Bacon had. He wanted to know if you use trekking poles or a hiking stick or anything like that.
Um, in general, or for this trip, in general I don't really use them,
Okay.
and also I guess again I didn't use them on this trip. So yeah, so no trekking or hiking poles.
Okay. Well, let's get into that part of it. What gear did you bring? What was your 10 items?
Um, well, I had the ferro rod, of course. I brought a pot that I could then boil my water in every day and everything. The tarp, I've already said that. What else was there? I had a small med kit. Um, there was a bandana that I was able to use over top of the pot, so
Mhm.
that's like a base, filter, so no like leaves, sticks, twigs, or river gunk floating on
Mhm.
top water gets in. Um, what else was there? I did a whole video on it. And I can't remember what else I brought. Yeah. So I had about now I remember, and I had about 10 fishing hooks,
Mhm.
which that's part of the alone. item list that you can choose from. I had a spool of about 120-ish feet of 20-pound just fishing line, and then I brought along 50 feet of paracord.
Okay.
And I think that was last item was my survival knife. I can't forget that. I
Okay.
had my K or BK7 with me.
Okay. No axe or saw?
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
yeah. I had a little like 7-inch folding saw. It was a Baco Laplander 7-inch.
Hmm. Okay.
That and then yeah, that was it. That was my items. I took.
So were you boiling water to purify it? What were you doing?
Yeah, yeah. I used my pot and the bandana first, and then I would get it boiling and stuff, and get a little bit to like set aside and everything. I had found a couple of plastic bottles that I was able to, you know, boil at first to disinfect, and then I was able to use them from there
Oh, cool.
to
Nice.
as storage, so that I could put them in the bottle, get another round boiling, and then I could just set the pot to the side.
And that starts getting really time consuming too, right? Like when you start thinking about managing your water supply, like that alone is like can take up a good bit of your time. Once you know you're boiling, gotta let it cool, then you're storing it, and then you're gonna be boiling some more, and it can become mature in itself.
Oh yeah, that's one of those things you just gotta keep moving with, keep moving with, keep moving with.
Mhm.
So it becomes a routine.
Yep. How about what was the food situation? So you dropped from 5,000 calories a day to trying to get ready for this, you dropped down to about 3.
Um, well, not to get ready for this, I took a break from competing in strongman. So
Okay.
when I took me taking a break, I stopped eating like I was, not all the protein and everything else. What would amount to my 5,000 calories a day? So it's been a couple of months now that I haven't been eating like that, but my body is still used to that. So it's just, I can eat and then an hour, 2 hours later, like I'm back to being hungry. Not
Mm,
just I'm a snack hungry, like it's kind of like a starving, I haven't eaten all day hungry.
gotcha. So what did you do? I mean, I
I'm
actually
still,
know
I'm still
I know
adjusting.
the answer to this, but I want the audience to hear. What did you end up doing
With what?
for food? How did you what did you do for meals?
Um, well, Friday and Friday night, I didn't eat at all. So that kind of was slightly sucky.
Mhm.
Um, and then Saturday, I was lucky enough, I was able to start pulling in a couple of fish from the river that was nearby. A
Mhm.
couple of yellow perch, which I ended up using as cut bait, and I set a couple of like longer lines that I could hand line out in actually deep into the river. So yeah, it came down to yellow perch and catfish.
Okay.
That was what I was able to eat.
And no condiments or salt or anything like that. So what was that like? Did it taste good because you were hungry?
Because I was hungry, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it was doable. I mean, I didn't need the salt, no pepper, or anything like that. It was
Mm,
just, pick it off, eat it.
mhm. And then you found a little bit of foraging too, right? I saw that.
Yeah, yeah, I was able to find a decent bit of the beauty berries, which I was able to snack on.
Mhm.
Uh, I wasn't having any high expectation on like actual any blackberries or ground berries or anything like that. It was a bit late in the season, but I was
Right.
still able to find a few of them that were kind of old, but I just used them as bait for my snare that I had made.
Mhm.
And yeah, that was yeah, that was about it for my foraging. There was
Mhm.
nothing really else I could find.
No mushrooms this time. No lion's mane or anything like that.
No, no, I
Yeah.
didn't. I wasn't able to find that. I didn't go too deep and all
Mhm.
adventuring around. until the third day, I got out and really adventured. But
Mhm. And that stuff like mushrooms are in my experience are kind of hard to find, to be honest with you. They I go out looking for stuff like that all the time, and I can find wild greens, and when berries are in season, I can find edible berries. I kind of know what roots around here are safe to eat, which that's kind of important for the carbohydrates piece of it. You want to know which tubers and roots you can eat. Um, Mushrooms are hard to find. Usually, when you see pictures of people finding like lion's mane or morels and things like that, they kind of got lucky. It's because I actively look, and there's certain ones I can find. Like I can find ringless honeys pretty easy because they grow prolific around here. But some of them are really hard to find. Like lion's mane grows around here, and I've yet to find it. I know it's out here, but it's just you can't count on that stuff. The greens, if
yeah,
you know a lot of the greens, there's always that stuff is always around, but that's not calorie dense though either.
right. Yeah, and that's what I had looked at first. I was looking for because there was a big field nearby. That was
Mhm.
where I initially would have to go through. I'd have to cross the field, then get onto some trails and get back in there to where I was, you know, adventuring and set traps and stuff at. But that was my first initial try, was to look through, see if there's any decent, plantain and or whatnot. But
Right.
nah, really, no
Yeah.
luck on
And
that one either.
yeah, so I said that, and of course the queen of mushrooms, Forager Chick, is here, and she knows way more about this stuff than I do. So she just found a bucket full of puffballs. Oh, the bluets are really cool. Those are really cool mushrooms. So she's probably very good at it. I struggle. I struggle. Um, what about with did you encounter anybody else out there? Any hikers or anything like that? Did you see anybody?
Yeah, yeah, there was a couple of people. They were cruising up and down the river and all. There was one gentleman. He actually wanted to come up where I was camping to kind of take a break, get off the river for a while. He had been kayaking for a little bit, so I
Mhm.
actually like initial first day out there, I'm pulling his kayak up and talking to him for a little while. And he was the one who actually told me that in the area that I was in, that there was a big field that was just overgrown with berry bushes
Hmm.
and all. And he said it was a ways in, but I didn't find the actual huge field, but I
Mhm.
did find the little bit that I did.
Mhm. Okay. Um, so for personal protection, did you have anything or just your knife?
No, I just had my survival knife.
Okay. Um, yeah, and usually, hikers and stuff like that, they're generally pretty cool, and most people are pretty chill and that kind of stuff when you encounter them in those situations. But it's just always something you think about when you're out there by yourself. Like if something goes down, there's no backup or anything like that. It's just you and whatever you've got for skills, basically, to take care of it. There's no help coming.
Right.
Yeah. Did you see any copperheads or alligators or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. There was about a 9-foot gator that came on by
Oh,
one night.
that's a big
Um,
size.
yeah, that was a good size. I was definitely glad that he kept on going, and I was camped on a bit of a bank, so I was up high, so he wasn't getting up that bank towards me. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So that was, yeah, no copperheads, no snakes.
Okay.
Snapping turtles, they were there.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Okay.
that was for that part.
So what do you think the next step for you is in terms of, continuing to train and continuing to try to get ready for hopefully getting on alone? What are your plans for the next few months and going forward into like 2024?
Um, well, I'm gonna keep on, I'm gonna keep getting out there as much as I can, hiking wise, and see if I can get out on a couple of longer adventures. Um, I've already have one adventure pre-planned right now for next summer. I'm going to do about 2 weeks on the Appalachian Trail.
Nice.
covering about I think I mapped out like 165 miles that I can get done in maybe 12 days.
Awesome. Awesome. That's cool.
Um,
And that's
and
gonna be by yourself?
no, no, I'm going to be taking one of my sons with me.
Oh, nice. Really cool.
Yeah.
And what would
And
for anyone
that's about it.
for anybody who's thinking about getting into this, what would you recommend for them? How would you have them start?
Um, I'd say start small. Uh, start out with just some little weekend camping and everything, so you can get used to it, uh, get used to being kind of outside and stuff. And don't be ashamed of getting into that actual campground where somebody's 20 feet away from you and there's
Right.
a bathroom nearby. It's fine, just for starting out, you know, don't go too rugged at first, you know, then
Yep.
start working your way towards that, move yourself a little bit further away from the bathroom and all, or then get into a campsite a little deeper back, and then start getting into, the real primitive campsites and getting out there, you know, being where, there is no cell service, whatnot.
Right. And so basically, don't go out there try to build a big shelter first. Maybe learn how to make a fire and boil water and that kind of stuff. And then when you've got that
Right.
mastered, then you can think about like, okay, maybe I can cut out some of this gear. Maybe I can do a lean-to, or maybe I can do a poncho shelter or something. But it's okay to use a tent when you're starting out.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah. Just start out small, work your way into it. You know, you'll test your comfortability levels. Um, YouTube is a great place, for any information and stuff like that. If there's things you want to see how it's done first and then try to give it a try or whatnot, or same vice versa with a product and everything before you go buying this crazy $500 tent and whatnot. YouTube
Yeah.
is a great place for all of that. It's educational.
Yeah, and if I had $1 for every time I've upgraded my gear, I'd be a really rich man. It's whatever you think is going to be your last tent, flashlight, knife, whatever. It's not. There's so get what you can afford is what I usually tell people here. Stay within your budget, get what you can afford, and then later on, if you want to upgrade, if you get into, even if you just do camping and you're not doing the primitive camping, even if you're just doing camping, get what you can afford. And then if you like it and you're using it and you're going out there, maybe then you upgrade a little bit. Same thing with the knife, right? Like you don't necessarily have to start off with $100, $200 knife. There's good knives in the $50 range. There's good knives in the $30 range. Start with that. And if you like it, if you start getting into bushcrafting and things like that, you like whittling and making things with your knife, then maybe you say, okay, maybe I'm going to upgrade. But just like what you said with starting with skills small, start with your gear small too. Stay within a budget. You don't have to buy that I don't know, $300 Maxpedition backpack. You can use the Gensport one for a little while and see how that goes.
Right, right.
Yep.
I've told people the very same thing. There is nothing wrong with Walmart camping survival gear for just
Right.
starting out. You
Yep.
can pick up a $40 little pup tent in there,
Yep.
and then work your way to like getting the $200 one that's 2 pounds lighter or whatever.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, let me say hi to a couple more people here that popped in, and then we're going to start to wind this one down. Let's see. Thank you, Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival. Appreciate you guys joining us. Who's your prepping nurse? I saw you earlier. Acer Red Rubrum. Thank you for joining us. Dove Season. Appreciate you for always coming in on Fridays. See if I missed anybody, I apologize. I try to always say hi to everybody as they're coming in and I see them. Yeah, so Bacon should not try to ruck his 12 by 12 gazebo and 7-piece cast iron cookware 45 miles into the swamp. Definitely not. Oh, Forager Chick, you can do it. You have great skills. You definitely could do it. Honestly, and if you wanted to, because you have great land. I've seen from your videos, you could do it just right in your backyard. You have the skill set. You definitely could do it. Yeah, that's a good suggestion right there. Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival says check out used gear, right? And if you've got military surplus stores near you, check those out too. You can get some great deals at military surplus stores.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And Wayne says Mora knife costs about $20. Absolutely. Mora is a fantastic bushcraft knife. Honestly, I would say I love all kinds of knives, but I don't think in the $20 range you can find a better fixed blade than Mora. I would challenge anyone to find me a better fixed blade than Mora in that price range. And I'm not sponsored by Mora. All right. I think I got everybody here. Yeah. Well, anything else before we start to wind this one down? Is there anything that you want to plug? I know we got your YouTube channel scrolling down the bottom there for everybody to check out. And Strongman Survival is on Instagram as well. So if you're on Instagram, definitely give him a follow. But is there anything else that you'd like to plug? You got any books coming out or podcasts or anything cool like that?
No, no books coming yet. Podcast. This is my first live or little show that I've ever really been on. So nothing yet. I've got the follow-up video for my 3-day adventure coming out soon. I've got to make that. And then just if anybody who was seeing this, who's going to be seeing this, if you haven't caught the live, you're watching it afterwards, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, share it around. Every little bit helps.
Absolutely. And thank you everybody in the audience too for checking this out tonight, joining us on your Friday. Always appreciate that people are willing to share some of their Friday night time with us. Y'all are awesome. And Dave, you're an awesome guest. Appreciate you. Really enjoying watching your journey. And we're rooting for you, man. I hope you get that audition. I hope you get on the show. So when you are famous and you've got 300,000 followers on Instagram and stuff, I want you to remember the little people like us that we knew you before you were famous.
Oh, I definitely will. I tell
I
you
know
what,
you would.
man, this has been exciting. I've been excited all week that I just even got invited to be on someone's show.
You will have many more going forward. I promise you that. You put out good content and you're gonna do great things. So thank you again. Really appreciate you being on the show.
Oh, I thank you. Thank you for inviting me and let me be on here.
You're very welcome. You're welcome back anytime, actually. For the rest of us,
And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, anytime, shoot me an invite.
We'll do. All right. For the rest of us, you all have a great weekend. Please enjoy your families. Get outside if you've got the weather to do so. Don't forget to get some survival training in there. Don't neglect your training. It's way more important than the gear. Way more important than the gear. And as always, keep planting your seeds. We can't do it. As always, keep planting your seeds. Keep stacking your silver. This is Dave, the Strongman Survival, and Prepping with Sarge. Have a great weekend, folks.